I don't own an IRA or 401k. Never have, never will. In this episode, I'm going to address the question, what's better than an IRA or 401k to save for retirement? Get ready. It's probably not what you think. I'm going to blow you away with something that I feel is far superior to an IRA or 401k, and you'll understand why I've never owned one and I never will own an IRA or 401k. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist and a retirement planning specialist for more than 48 years. In that nearly 5-decade era, I've helped thousands of people prepare for a comfortable retirement so they will not outlive their money. And all too often, people come to me with yet to be taxed IRAs and 401ks invested in the market at retirement. Now, one of the principles I teach on this very channel, Three-Dimensional Wealth, is at retirement planning is something totally different than maybe what you did for your retirement planning. In other words, money invested in the market, Wall Street, was not built to create predictable income or to sell your mutual fund shares or your stocks. If you ask Wall Street, when is the best time to sell my stocks? They will say, never. If you ask an advisor that has your money invested in the market to create a predictable income stream for you so you will not outlive your money, they cannot do it. Or if they do, it's at a pathetic 4% payout. It's called the 4% rule in the financial services industry because the average retiree in America only earns 3.49% on their IRAs and 401ks invested in the market during retirement. If you take out more than 4%, you'll likely outlive your money. So they don't want to be sued for you outliving your money, and so they tell you to only take out 4%, which is pretty pathetic. On $1 million nest egg, that would only be $40,000 a year of income. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I don't save $1 million to have a measly $40,000 a year of income, and I have to pay tax on it to boot. Even in a 25% bracket, that's $10,000 of the $40,000. I only net $30,000. Many of these asset managers would charge you 1% on that $1 million. That's another 10 grand. You're really only netting 2% or $20,000 after taxes and the fees. That's pretty pathetic. My favorite vehicle that I have used and empowered many people to use knocks the socks off of an IRA or 401k, and it usually generates at least an 8% payout and even 10% and higher, tax-free. How much more is 8% than 4%? Don't say 4, it's double. On $1 million nest egg, we're talking about $80,000 a year of tax-free income for as long as you live versus $40,000 a year of income that you have to pay tax on and you have to pay fees on. When I am comparing it to 8%, 8% is net. 4% is not the net for most people, unfortunately, in retirement. So how did this all come about, and why have I never owned an IRA or 401k and never will? Let me share with you sort of the history behind it and why the original premise has been wrong ever since they came up with the idea. Years ago, I wrote several editorial articles for several newspapers and magazines, and one that got millions of views and readers was an article titled "How Congress is Peddling IRA and 401k snake oil." And I was talking in that article about how Congress tries to dupe most Americans to contribute pre-tax dollars or tax-deductible contributions into IRAs and 401ks, accumulate the money tax-deferred, and then agree to pay tax when you withdraw the money during retirement. What was the original premise for that? You'll likely be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. Well, folks, most Americans are not in lower tax brackets when they retire. So that has not been true or axiomatic for more than 30 years now. And yet the financial services industry still touts that you ought to put money into a traditional IRA or 401k, and you'll likely be in a lower bracket. Now, the financial services industry actually has been forced to admit that most people who accumulate any type of a respectable retirement nest egg are not in lower brackets when they retire. They're in as higher brackets as they've ever been in, even if they have less income, because most people are going down the highway of life trying to save in these tax-deferred accounts with one foot on the gas pedal and the other foot on the brake pedal, and they didn't know they were doing it. The foot on the gas pedal would be money in tax-deferred IRAs or 401ks, thinking you're going to be in a lower bracket, but you're assuring you're not going to be with the other foot on the brake pedal. Most Americans pay off their house, they lose that deduction. The kids are gone, so you don't have that deduction anymore. Even if the kids move back in with you as adults, you can't claim them as dependents anymore. You're not contributing money to IRAs or 401ks or 403bs or 457s in retirement, so you don't have that deduction. If you are a business owner, you don't have those deductions anymore. And frankly, Congress keeps raising taxes. So most Americans hit retirement and they're in as higher tax bracket as ever, and they don't have any deductions. Do you know that even school teachers usually pay back every dime they saved in taxes over 30 years on their contributions? During the first 2.5 years of retirement, they pay back 100% of the taxes they saved over 30 years on the contributions, the first 2.5 years of distributions, and they do it again and again and again, to where by the time they die, they have usually paid back 12 to 15 times the taxes during retirement, the taxes they saved during their working years. Whose retirement were they planning? Theirs or Uncle Sam's? 91% of Americans are duped into doing that. Only 9% will choose a Roth because they realize, I'm not going to be in a lower bracket when I retire. It would be better to just bite the bullet and pay the tax at today's lower rates and have my money accumulate tax-free and then generate tax-free income on the back end. Now, I'm going to confess something here. I've never owned a Roth IRA or 401k either. Never have, and I never will. My favorite vehicle knocks the socks off of a Roth IRA or 401k. They only have two benefits. They've only been around since 1997. My favorite vehicle, called the Laser Fund, has been around for 107 years. It's a sacred tax-free cash cow in the Internal Revenue Code. It has 6 benefits. The Roths only have 2 of those 6. So why would I ever want to put money in a Roth when I can have all the benefits of a Roth and 4 additional benefits? Does that make sense? I'll share with you how you can learn more about this Laser Fund here at the end of this episode. But let me share with you a couple of other articles that have been published through the years about IRAs and 401ks. Now, if this is resonating with you and you're thinking, oh my gosh, and you can think of somebody who ought to see this, be sure and share this episode or post a comment, click like. But I would recommend you subscribe to this 3-dimensional wealth channel. And when you do, click on the little bell. Then you'll be notified every time I post a new financial question or episode, which I do almost on a daily basis. But stay with me to the end, because I want to gift you a copy of my most recent 300-page best-selling book called The Laser Fund: How to Diversify and Create the Foundation for a Tax-Free Retirement. And you'll see why it knocks the socks off of any IRA or 401k that I've ever seen. So back in 2009, the year after most Americans lost 40% for the second time in a decade with the value of their IRAs or 401ks invested in the market, that was 2008, the mortgage meltdown. The first time they lost 40% was after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. If they had $1 million nest egg saved in the year 2001, they saw it in 3 years go down to 600,000. It took 4 years to come back to break even at $1 million. Many of our clients doubled their money during that 7-year period using the Laser Fund. They did not lose when the market went down, and they made money when it was going up. In 2008, none of our clients lost one dime due to that crash. Most people lost 40% again for the second time in a decade. It took 4 years until 2012 to come back to break even. most of our clients had at least tripled their money. $1 million was worth $3 million at the end of 2012, when most Americans, their IRAs and 401ks, were barely back to break even. Time magazine had a cover page story that said why it's time to retire the 401k and do something better instead. Now, the author of that article was Stephen Gandel, and he said the 401k is a lousy idea, a financial flop, a rotten repository for our retirement reserves. Now, I had never used that strong of language, but he was talking about how people had their retirement into this vehicle that was subject to this market volatility. I actually said, well, yeah, that's the third reason I've never owned an IRA or 401k in the market. The first two reasons are taxes. Taxes are going to be higher in the future. Why do you want to postpone, defer, procrastinate, paying tax to some future perceived unknown advantage and then withdraw your money down the road when most of us are convinced taxes will be higher? That doesn't make sense. The other is inflation. Inflation erodes away a lot of people's purchasing power. And most people, inflation is the hidden tax that causes them to outlive their money. So my favorite vehicle, which I call the Laser Fund, eliminates the dangers of taxes, inflation, and market volatility. You can learn how and why, because I'm immune from those three. I convert to tax-free. I link my returns to the things that inflate. And when the market goes down, I don't lose. When the market goes up, I benefit, but my money is not at risk in the market. I simply link my returns to when the economy is doing well. That's a strategy called indexing. So let me share with you one other article that came out. I think it was January 1st or January 2nd of the year 2017. In the beginning of 2017, the Wall Street Journal had an article that said the original champions of the 401k lament the day they ever came up with that idea. Why? Well, it's because the 401k was meant to be a supplemental plan, and it ended up becoming the primary plan for most people in America because a lot of employers and corporations, they wanted to be off the hook. They didn't want to offer defined benefit pensions where they had to manage money and guarantee somebody a certain amount of income, like a school teacher or police officer, based on the years of service. 30 years of teaching school times 2%. You get 60% of your last best salary for the rest of your life in a defined benefit pension. They wanted to shift to defined contribution. That's a 401k, where the employer is off the hook and you define the contribution, how much you want to contribute. The employer might match, but you get to decide how your money is invested, and if you make money or lose money, that's your problem, and that's a 401k. The original champions of the 401k did not intend for the 401k to become the primary retirement savings vehicle in America, and especially because most people are not savvy. They buy and sell at the wrong times. They wait when the market goes down, and then they sell low. And then they wait, and they buy high. And that's why Dalbar says the average person who has money invested in the market, in IRAs and 401ks, is only earning 3.49%. And that's where we come up with the 4% rule from the financial services industry. How sad is that? So, what is better? I'm going to show you how you can learn what's better. I'm going to give you a copy of my 300-page book, The Laser Fund. In here, you'll learn that the Laser Fund has 6 benefits. See, Roths are funded with after-tax dollars like a Laser Fund is. But see, your money accumulates tax-free and you can access it tax-free in the Laser Fund and a Roth. But that's the 2 benefits of a Roth. The Laser Fund has 4 additional benefits. You'll learn that with the Laser Fund, you can contribute larger amounts. If you're a business owner, you can put in $300,000 if you want. You don't have to. You can put in $30,000. But you can catch up the other $270,000 anytime in the future. You can't do that with a Roth. You can only put in a certain dollar amount or a certain percent of your income. If you don't use the room in 1 year, you lose it. With the Laser Fund, you can make up for it. With the Laser Fund, if you need money at any time, before age 59 and a half, it doesn't matter. You can access it. There's no IRS penalties. If you touch the money in a Roth in the first 5 years before age 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty. I don't want those strings attached. If you use a laser fund, you get to use indexing, which means you're able to participate when the market goes up, but not lose when it goes down, because your money is not invested or at risk in the market. And the laser fund, at the end of the day, when you die, it increases in value. It blossoms in value. If I died, I'm 69, in an accident tomorrow, every million would blossom to about 2.5 million and transfer tax-free to my heirs, my spouse, my kids, my grandkids, my church, my charity, whoever I want. There's not a Roth around that will do that, and people say, how much does that cost? Well, nothing's free, but it doesn't cost me anything. It's coming along for the ride. Are you intrigued? Here's how you can learn. If you go to laserfund.com, L-A-S-E-R fund.com, or click on the link below, you contribute a nominal amount toward the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll fire out a copy of this to you. It's actually 2 books in one. This white side is 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs. If you're more of a right brain learner, you flip it over to this side. This is 100 pages, 12 chapters with 62 chicken soup for the financial soul stories of how the laser fund is the dream solution for a lot of financial goals, not just retirement. It could be college funding, it could be working capital for your business, real estate management, emergency funds, on and on and on. You'll see why it's my dream solution. So go to laserfund.com, empower yourself. There's also options there to listen and learn, watch and learn, but here is to your brighter future.